What is up, everybody? I'm NoLucksGiven, and welcome back to the Bazaar. Today, we're going to talk about my experience for the first few days playing the Bazaar, what things worked, what things didn't work, the types of content that I am putting out on the channel, and really I'm looking for feedback on what type of Bazaar content to produce going forward. One discussion that I definitely want players to weigh in on is which hero should I unlock? I just got up to 500 gems, and that's how much it costs to unlock your second hero. It only costs 500. The third one is going to cost me 2,500, so a little bit more. And I'm not sure, should I get Dually or Pygmalion? I think that there are trade-offs to both. I think that Pygmalion might be good right now, so I could get Pig, start winning, and then build up the gems so that I get Dually. The main reason to go for Dually, I think, is it seems like there's just a lot more variety in the builds, a lot more replayability, so these 500 gems are going to stretch a little bit further, and I will be content playing Dually for a long time to come. The other part of this discussion that I want to have with this video, and we are going to get to some gameplay clips in this video as well, but I'm kind of curious what type of Bazaar content I should be doing. Should I continue with a sort of let's play feel where I'm sort of experimenting with everything, especially as I unlock new heroes? I feel like that type of gameplay does make a lot of sense, especially while the game is in closed beta. There have been some comments recently where players have been a little bit upset that I'm not like fully optimizing everything, and these are comments made on like the second game that I played, and I can understand the frustration if I'm not doing exactly what you think I should do. I feel like that's also part of the journey, to be able to watch me grow, and if you recognize something that I'm doing wrong, feel free to leave constructive criticism. But in doing so, like, you are then able to learn and figure that all out yourself, too. If you're looking for a channel that already knows all of the best builds and things like that, well, I'm probably not going to get there, and I want to be able to explore the game at my own pace. However, there is another way for me to produce content, and that's for me to just play a ton, master the game, and then show you guys clips after the fact. More so like what I started doing with Storybook Brawl, where I would play 20 games and then showcase one of those games where I did something really cool and really fun. Eventually, I got to a place with Storybook Brawl where almost all of my games were highlights, and eventually we'll possibly get there with the Bazaar too, but it's going to take a little bit till I can get to a point where like 5 out of every 6 games that I play are actually games worth showcasing. As I continued to play with the Bazaar, there were games that just did not go well for me at all, and I was debating whether or not I should still release those so that way people that wanted to like watch my journey and just see how I learned and grew with the Bazaar would be able to grow with me, especially those that are not currently playing the game and just consuming content here on the channel, sort of like an exploratory let's play. And I do think that there is some merit to approaching the content from that perspective. However, then they released a balance patch a few days into the game. Everything that you've seen so far on this channel has been from the first like 1 to 3 days of the Bazaar releasing, and then they put out a little balance patch that just addressed some of the most powerful strategies, and then it really didn't make sense for me to put out all of those games where I just got like 1 to 6 wins or something. So instead of releasing a whole bunch of episodes like that I had as sort of a backlog, we're going to blow through a bunch of content today with a sort of clip episode. The first card that I wanted to talk about that got a nerf here was Throwing Knives, which now requires a different item to crit for its force use trigger. So throwing knife says whenever you crit, you use it. And if you could get the throwing knives to crit, then it would just completely unload as soon as you got your first crit. If you had like max crit throwing knives or near max crit. But over 100 crit percent is very possible, quite easily in the Bazaar, as I've shown off in multiple videos already. So from there, because throwing knives is an ammo item, you do need the skill Flashy Reload, which says whenever you crit, reload one of your ammo items with +1 ammo. And I say need, of course, you don't need it, but this game I didn't have it, and this is one combat that I was able to win. You can see I'm not doing super hot with only one win by day 8. This was just me kind of experimenting with it. I do have the cannon, which I am able to also unload with, and then I also have the repeater, which is another part of this. Repeater says whenever you use an ammo item, you get to use the repeater. So this still works, but only to a small extent, because when you have multiple ammo items, then you won't be able to flashy reload them, and then you'll really require just to have like more ammo items so that way you get enough damage out. So here I'm like picking up these rounds so that way I have a little bit more ammo, and there you can see some mouse overs of some of those key items here. Like I said, this run didn't really work, but I did still want to show it off and showcase what I tried to do without the flashy reload. Some of this is still possible, and this was like, I heard throwing knives was good, so I just picked it without like knowing exactly why people were saying it was good, and just tried to make it work myself. So in this version, because we're looking at an old game, the knives can crit and continue to trigger themselves, but you can't do that anymore, so now you need the repeater, and once you add the repeater in, flashy reload isn't as consistent, but this strategy can still definitely work. Basically, what I'm going to do here right now is completely unload all of my ammo, and then I'll just be out of ammo. I have to hope that the cannonade with these other two weapons is just enough damage, and that can get it done. And we'll see how we are up against a Pygmalion. I'm not feeling super confident. We got to beat a Vanessa in the previous combat, which typically has a lot less health and shields, but a Pygmalion, I mean, we're probably just not going to have enough rounds to be able to deplete their entire health pool. We will also get to see in this combat the other main thing that was nerfed in the patch notes. Top of those patch notes was Skyscraper, which I freeze right before it's able to go off, but you can see my opponent also has a 5-digit shield, and eventually that Skyscraper also hits me for basically 5k and it just one-shots me and ends my run there. We can also see that this opponent had a stained glass window, and I think that Skyscraper and Space Scraper and the window are part of the reason that a lot of my runs during these 2 days did not go so well, because I wasn't playing Pygmalion and a lot of my opponents were, and when I faced up against other Vanessas and stuff, I could manage to get some wins, but there were a lot of pigs with some really big buildings that just absolutely wrecked me. Speaking of wrecking, I should probably also talk about Shipwreck, though Shipwreck has not actually been changed, and I think I'm still going to have, I think my next actual full video does include Shipwreck in some capacity. So I kind of was piecing this together just playing the Bazaar. Some items are only available, so you can get bronze, silver, gold, diamond items, and then like another tier that you can only get from PvE encounters, but some items are not available at the bronze and silver and even gold tiers. Some items are only available at diamond, and initially Shipwreck and Robotics Factory were available at gold, and Shipwreck actually technically still is, but now they are only available at diamond and cannot upgrade. So Now you have to pay more to initially get them, and you won't just then be able to upgrade them through leveling up or other skills and things like that. And they also have a cap. So the Diamond Shipwreck used to be +2 multicast, and same with Robotics Factory. Now they are both +1, and these were both most commonly used with items that could destroy your opponent's items, like Dam. Dam is now much, much worse, only destroying small items and then slowing enemy medium items, but leaving their large items alone completely and not destroying their medium items anymore. And there was a combo, I did use this in a previous video, there was one other game where it went pretty well for me, where my goal is to use the Icy Harpoon here to destroy my opponent's small items and then use the Dam to destroy all of their medium and large items. And this is really good against a Pygmalion build specifically because they typically play a lot of large items. And with just one harpoon hit, that's going to kill their bird, and then the Dam is going to wipe away everything else, and it's pretty consistently able to just leave your opponent with absolutely nothing. This was a pretty fun run, by the way. I've rewound it back here a little bit to show you the problem that I was having earlier on. I could destroy all of my opponent's things and then still lose because I just didn't have anything going on after that. And yeah, here we have my opponent just with duct tape, and I just have like a little bit, oh yeah, and I even take that out with the harpoon, and then I'm freezing the port. I mean, the port doesn't do anything by itself, but I just don't have enough damage, and my opponent has triple my health right now. So I actually lose this fight to the Sandstorm, and then I get my fated choice. And yeah, this was pretty awkward, definitely a little bit embarrassing. And what I then wind up doing, I'll let this fight play out here actually, just because it is so sad to see. But yeah, my opponent has nothing, and I still manage to lose. Then I get my Fate's choice here, and I'm gonna go with Fate's Legacy and just look for a diamond item that can actually deal some damage to my opponent. The Shoe Blade, not terrible with the 100% to crit, and the ability to put it on the other side of the Siren there, but I ultimately decide to go for the Blowgun because I figure if I could get like some passive poison, even if my opponent then blows up my items as well, then I'll have this poison on them that could eat away at them as we just watch each other and wait for the Sandstorm. So I figured that was an interesting strategy to go for, and it wound up getting me pretty far back into it. As you can see here, I am basically running that same build now with 9 wins on day 15. So we've definitely turned some things around nicely. Then we were up against a Skyscraper build that just took me out immediately. I wish that I had the clam thing that could slow at the start of the fight, because my opponent had the sonogram here and all of these other things that got nerfed, as you can see, and just destroyed me before I could destroy them. I don't know how many of these other things I can actually show off specifically in this video. I'm just gonna show off some other random clips and things that I tried and didn't work really. And I'll talk about these things briefly as well. Robotics Factory was basically the shipwreck, but for Dooley, and where Vanessa had Dam, Dooley had Momosaur, which now also cannot destroy large items. So large items being safe from most destruction, I think, does seem fair. There is still some disruption that can hit large items. Of course, like you can still freeze and slow them. And there is a PvE reward, a boss reward, that just is allowed to destroy anything still. They'll probably keep that at least for a little bit until people start abusing it, but it's a little bit harder to come by, a lot more RNG to even be able to find it, so it's a lot less consistent. Blunderbuss, I was just rereading this again. I couldn't remember if I ever played with Blunderbuss in any of my videos. I know I've featured some burn strategies previously on the channel though. Now it charges instead of just uses on burn, and I was realizing if you had a fiery blunderbuss, a blunderbuss that had a burning enchantment on it, I think that would just go infinite because it would activate, burn them, and then it would use itself again. But eventually, because it is a ammo item, it would run out of ammo, right? But it would still just get to unload in a pretty crazy capacity there. So if you could put enough ammo on it, the old fiery blunderbuss would be pretty good. There is still an infinite combo in the game that relies on a fiery pufferfish and a trebuchet. If you can get that, then the trebuchet hastes whenever you burn, and the pufferfish burns whenever you haste. So they both just go off on each other, and then you just deal like infinite burn and poison to your opponent and get them dead pretty quickly. So there are some things that they'll probably leave in the game that are similar power level to some of the things that they're nerfing, but just a little bit more rare to actually be able to pull off. I've tried to make flagship work a few times, and it seems really cool getting additional multicasts. If you have a tool, ammo, a property, and a friend, it can have up to 5 multicast, but it's really slow as well compared to some other endgame items. And I feel like the only way that it really works, maybe I'm just wrong, but I feel like it needs an enchantment on it. I feel like you have to give it poison or fiery enchantments, so that way you are also stacking poison or burn at the same time. Otherwise, I mean, it is like a nice little burst of damage. I just haven't been able to make it work. I wind up transitioning here into a shark build because I pick up Shark Ray as just a better friend. This, whenever you haste, it gains plus 25 damage, and that seemed to be a much more reliable build around. The shark is just a lot easier to build around with Water Wheel giving everything haste. I think that that is a really cool combo, and then you play other aquatic items, and those aquatic items give the Water Wheel haste, and all of those things just continually scale up the shark so that it has like over 1,000 attack super easily. The other thing that I have found a lot of success with, and basically always try to get it in my runs when possible, is the Gorgon enchantment. It's my 4th enchantment right to the right of my hero portrait. That basically says whenever I reach below 50% health, which is about to happen as my opponent is about to beat me here, or they're winning right now against me, you freeze all of their items for 3 seconds, and that gives you just enough time to scale up, and then the shark can take him out in one bite. Super sweet. The weakness to this strategy is going to be a burn build, because here, even though I'm going to be able to freeze my opponent, they are still clocking me for damage here, and they basically kill me while they're frozen. I get pretty close, but then they freeze the shark, and that's all she wrote. I did also get a run in with the Shipwreck Dam combo. I've got a full diamond board here, except for the manatee, but that's fine. You just want to play some cheap aquatic items so that way you can activate your dam as soon as possible, and then you play Shipwreck so you get to multi-use it, and that will allow you to destroy 9 of your opponent's items. This opponent only has 5, so as soon as the dam activates, they are all done. And it doesn't even matter if I'm not dealing like that much damage. We are definitely going to be able to beat them, and we'll even beat them before the sandstorm or whatever. But you're literally just playing aquatic items so that you can activate the dam as quickly as possible. That is it for me today. Thank you guys very much for watching, and let me know what type of content you want to see in the future for the Bazaar, and also which hero I should unlock between Pygmalion and Dooley here. Or if you don't care, just let me know that too. But I'm really curious, like, are people interested, especially while we are in the beta, in some of the exploratory content that I didn't showcase? Do you want to see me try flagship still, even though I haven't been able to make it work? Do you want me to just keep trying to force it until something happens and something clicks and it all comes together? Some things have come together for me, and I do have still some content backlogged since this patch here, of course. But I'm curious if you are interested in the exploratory content, if you just want to see the highlights, if you just want to see the best of the best, there's nothing wrong with that. And then maybe I'll just play the game a little bit more and kind of like get myself up to speed. But really, you only get the chance to learn a game once. And I think that that part is really fascinating as well, just trying to figure out what you can with the little bit of information that you have. I try not to read too much into stuff. Like when I was showing off the throwing knives, I knew that throwing knives was good because people were talking about it, and I just like some of those things were coming my way, but I didn't know why it was good. So I just said, okay, I'm gonna try to play throwing knives and see what I can make work. And I found the repeater, found ways to give it a bunch of crit. I tried it with the cannonade. It didn't really work out, but I'm a little bit more familiar with like the cannonade, for instance, that other players might not be used to because I'm in there experimenting and trying some stuff out. So let me know what you are interested in seeing. And for today, that is going to be it for me. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm NoLucksGiven. Peace.